One, two, one, two. One, two.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. We will be starting in 2 minutes. If I can ask you to please all take your seats, and we will get started very, very shortly. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. That's lovely, that's lovely. Good morning and welcome. My name is Lance Witten. I am the editor of IOL. It is an absolute privilege and a pleasure to welcome you here to the Radisson Blu Mhlanga in Durban for the first of our elections panel discussions hosted by IOL. I think just to get us warmed up, you can give yourselves a round of applause for making it here this morning. I'm looking forward to a very robust discussion. We have a wonderful panel of political candidates in front of us, political hopefuls who are hoping to make their mark in a watershed election 30 years into our democracy on May 29th. We will have a panel discussion where our Deputy Editor of IOL, Lee Ronganger, will be posing questions to the panel. The audience here present will also have an opportunity to engage with the panel on issues that they would like to address. I ask that we keep our questions short, that we allow the candidates to answer the questions succinctly, that we don't heckle them. I believe that we will have a very positive engagement here this morning, a positive and robust engagement, and I look forward to engaging with all of you again thereafter. For now, though, I'd like you to put your hands together and give a warm round of applause to our CEO, Mr. Vyasan Subramani, to do a word of welcome. Thank you.
Thank you, Lance. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Warm welcome to our panel. As Lance mentioned, it is a watershed moment. It's 30 years into democracy, a very important election. And IOL as a media organization is very committed to providing a platform for various voices and the voices of ordinary citizens. Which is why we decided to put this panel together. We hope that you will engage robustly with the candidates. We'd love to hear what you have in store for the province of KwaZulu-Natal. We look forward to some really good engagements. So I'm not gonna take up too much of your time. I think all of the time needs to be spent on the panel and with you as our guests. The event is being live streamed on all of IOL's platforms and beamed across to our over 10 million users a month. So with that, ladies and gentlemen, thank you, welcome, and we're looking forward to a fruitful discussion. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Let's get straight into it. I'd like to welcome our esteemed panelists of our politicians in KwaZulu-Natal. These are the guys who have a vision for our province and have a vision for South Africa. So I'm going to ask each one, starting on my left with Mr. Chris Pappas from the DA. In 3 minutes, could you outline your vision for KwaZulu-Natal and why should the electorate trust the DA?
Thank you very much, and thank you to IOL for hosting us. Good morning to all the panelists and to everyone here today. I think no one can deny that our democracy continues to mature in a good way, whether it is encouraging debates like this, when it's the emergence of new political hopefuls on the arena, or the changing dynamics between old political parties who have been on the stage for a long time. But I think this election has shown one thing, is that South Africans are hopeful. South Africans are hopeful for something different. Whatever that means will be determined on the 29th of May. But there's a palpable change that is in the air, in the political dynamics of our country and in our province. And I think that is underpinned by not only the desperate need for something different, but a hope that the power of democracy and the power of voting can bring that about. So as the DA, we're excited for this election because there is a hope that is in the air for our province, and there is a hope in our country that voters seem to have taken hold of. People realize that there is power in what they need to do. But I also think that there is an urgency. We are faced with many challenges. No one can deny that there have been successes over the last 30 years. But there has also been an increasing urgency and increasing decline in what we've seen in the desperate need for some change. Whether it's the economy or crime, whether it is healthcare or education, whether it is the declining state of infrastructure in municipalities, we need something different, and there's an urgency because things seem to be getting worse. There is also a need for accountability. We've seen rampant corruption. We've seen a number of different institutions collapse. So there's a greater need for accountability. And every 5 years, the voters have that opportunity for accountability. But in order for us to change all these things and take advantage of this hope, we need to make sure that we are voting for credible plans, for experience that has shown how to solve these issues. The urgency of the problems that we face requires that we put political parties or independent candidates in place who know what they're doing, who can turn things around. More importantly, who have the capacity. Now, it takes 6 hours to travel across our province. There are tens of thousands of government employees. There are multiple levels of government to deal with. But what we require are capable individuals, capable political parties who have reach, experience, and a track record to be able to deal with these challenges.
Thank you, Mr. Papas. Mr. Ntuli from the IFP.
No, thank you very much. And good morning to the panelists and the audience and the viewers, as you have indicated that you are live streaming. Well, as the IFP, we want to fix the mess in our province, which has left the people disparate because of the level of unemployment, issues of crime, declining economy, where everything is not working for the people. And we are not saying we want to do it, we have done it. We want to restore this province to its glorious times, because we once governed this province, and everyone is aware that we're able to invest in the infrastructure. You talk about education, talk about more than 6,000 classrooms. You talk about the colleges of education. You talk about even the universities, in particular, the Mangoso University of Technology. We're able to even attract the investors to this province. You recall that the likes of Kwastebe in Mandeni, we had factories that were built there, so as to ensure that our economy in the province, at least, is having a particular shape, and people are benefiting even through the job opportunities. We're able to even provide some skills to the ordinary citizens so that they're to participate in the economy. We have done a lot, even the government institutions. We're working for the people. You talk about clinics and hospitals. They're working. I understand that we're operating under a shoestring budget. But for that budget, because we provided clean governance, we were able to ensure that the people of KwaZulu-Natal had access from the minimal budget that we have. And we believe when people of KwaZulu-Natal afford us an opportunity to govern this province, will be able to restore this province to its glorious shape, where everyone will have a hope about the future, in particular our younger generation, because that is quite very important, to bring stability in our province, so that even the investors will be attracted to invest, and businesses will be able to operate in an environment which will be safe, which will be in fact affording an opportunity to flourish in their businesses. That is what then we believe that when the people of KwaZulu-Natal gives us an opportunity, we will have KwaZulu-Natal citizens who will be owning the province.
Thank you, Mr. Ntuli. Thank you for that. Let's go to the ANC. Mr. Ndebele, what is the ANC's vision for KwaZulu-Natal?
Good morning to you, the fellow panelists, and of course the audience, both here and at home. Ours as an ANC is but a good story to tell. It is a story that can be only summarized in two: achievements and success. When we took over in 1994, and we deal with facts, about 2.8 million were employed. Today, as we speak, statistics tells you that over 25 million are employed. When we took over in 1994, about 50% of our people lived in rural areas. Today, over 70% live in urban areas. When we took over in 1994, the majority of our people could not read and write. About 80% have been assisted, particularly by NSFAS. Our story when we took over, our land was in the hands of white minority. Today, as we speak, more than 70,000 land claims have been dealt with, giving access to over 3.5 hectares of land, giving our people. When we took over in 1994, KwaZulu-Natal was a province ravished by political intolerance, violence, and political killings. Today, none amongst you can challenge us when we say our province is largely stable. When we took over in 1994, many of we listened to logic and engaged to it. When we took over in 1994, we were able to build more than 4,000 clinics for our people. When we took over in 1994, we were able to roll out programs such as ARV8 and so forth. If you take a story of a child, we take a young child and say to them, to the father and the mother, here are the condoms for free of charge. When they fail to use them, we then say to them, go to clinic, which was not happening before, and get healthy access for free of charge. When they fail to do that, we give them access to no-fee schools. And when they get there, they get meal given by this government. Before, the stationery was paid for, but today this government gives that particular stationery. Before, there was no NSFAS. Today, there is NSFAS. Our story is but a story of achievement, but yes, there has been setbacks. Setbacks in this regard had been as a result of some who have used this opportunity to be corrupt. With the current president, we have committed ourselves as a movement into a program of renewal. Today, even media can attest that because of the ANC institution, they have freedom to access and even report about those who are corrupt about amongst ourselves.
Thank you, Mr. Ndebele. Your time is up. Mr. Mzobe from the Economic Freedom Fighters, what is the EFS vision for KwaZulu-Natal?
Thank you. Greetings to the panelists and the audience at home. It's a pity that I've only got 3 minutes, so I won't waste time on what my colleague from the ANC has done. It's a serious effect of spending time with old people. You, instead of dealing with the vision of the province, you storytelling us. In Zulu, they call it Inganegwana. Now, the fact that we have is that as you sit here, at least more than 20 people will be killed in KwaZulu-Natal today. The fact that as you sit here, more than 23 women will be raped today, wasn't it? Now, that's a reality that some of us know. Not the 30 years of storytelling that is not grounded on the reality of KZN. The truth is that more than 50% of young people in KwaZulu-Natal are unemployed. That's the reality. Now, the EFF proposes much more tangible solutions to this problem. Mafiga and myself come from Newcastle. More than 2,000 people are going to be retrenched at ArcelorMittal because of load shedding and the collapsed railway infrastructure. The proposition that we are putting is that that's why our slogan of elections is clear. Land and jobs now. Stop load shedding. If you stop load shedding, you immediately save more than 2,000 jobs in Newcastle. Not job opportunities that they propose. We're talking job concrete with clear salary per month. When you travel in N3, you realize that there are more trucks on the road now than there were 30 years ago. It's because the ANC has collapsed the railway infrastructure. Now all goods and services are transported on the road, creating more death on the road as there will be more car accidents. The EFF proposes that we need to fix the railway infrastructure as part of creating a conducive environment for goods to travel through railway to all the ports that have been collapsed by the ANC government. We are proposing, you know KZN, that there's what is called construction mafia. You won't solve that through police. We are proposing that the EFF won't come to government. We are creating a construction company owned by the state to undertake all those big projects. Because the reason, of course, that problem of construction mafia is both the ANC-connected politicians and business people are the ones that are giving these tenders, and the other business people who are not connected to the ANC, as a way of fighting back, they then create the environment of construction mafias. We will fix the Itala mess that the ANC is collapsing.
Thank you, sir.
To fund small business in KwaZulu-Natal.
Your time is up. Thank you. Rise Mzansi is represented by the premier candidates of the province, Ms. Slongwane Mhlongo. What is your vision for KwaZulu-Natal?
Thank you so much for the question, Sanbonani. Good morning to the audience here and the ones joining us online. The Rise Mzansi vision for South Africa is to build a safe, a prosperous, an equal, and a united South Africa in one generation. And a lot of times people ask us, what is one generation? For us, it is 20 to 25 years. Because we do understand that 30 years of damage will take us quite a long time to get to where we have to be as a country. My vision for KZN is that every single citizen that lives in KZN lives a long, a healthy, and a dignified life. And part of how we strategized in creating our manifestos and creating our policies as a Rise Mzansi was that we partnered with communities. And the center pillar that we speak about at Rise Mzansi is the family and community well-being. So what does this look like for somebody who lives in KZN? It means that the head of the household, the man, does not have to travel for 2 hours to get to work or relocate to a completely different province to be able to earn an income and live a dignified life. It means that single mothers are respected, protected, and supported with tax relief for single mothers in SARS, to be able to be supported with certain food items that are discounted at stores. It means that anybody who's over the age of 35 is able to find and access work in KZN. Because as we know, if you're over the age of 35, you can't access opportunities. You can't access opportunities in terms of work. You can't access grants if you're a business holder. So being able to make sure that we have a province that is able to hire people who are skilled, even if they're over the age of 35. It means a young child does not die in a pit toilet in 2024. Under a Rise Mzansi government, that every single school is safe and every single child and teacher in a school is protected and is able to work in a conducive environment. It means reforming education, because right now it is outputting employees and not employers. So what does this look like? The infrastructure, the design of schools, being able to be intentional in working with communities to collaborate and design communities that are designed for success. It means that people with disabilities are recognized and seen in this province, integrated and not shunned away into different schools and different centers, miles and miles away from their families, but incorporating them in the education, incorporating them in the work sphere. But it also means a province that recognizes young people, that young people have value, and that they're not leaders of the future, but they're leaders now, and being able to support them and working hand in hand with civil society to do so. That is the vision I have for KZN.
Thank you, ma'am. Mr. Sheikh Imam is from the AM4C party. You may recognize his face. He was a former NFP member of parliament, and now he's with the AM4C. What are you about, sir? What is your vision, and what is AM4C?
Well, very good day to all of you, and thank you, IOL, for giving us this opportunity. I think what we cannot dispute is that KwaZulu-Natal is one of the worst underperforming municipalities in the country. Secondly, I want to say, and let me tell you about the vision that the Allied Movement for Change has. Number one, education. Now, I know education to a large extent is also a national mandate. At the moment, the emphasis is on quantity. The AM4C talks about quality, ensuring that there are more training centers, that we put emphasis on quality, sports development, health, education, so that learners want to stay in school. But in order to enhance the sports development and things, we are saying, let the municipalities have the responsibility of providing sports coaches to work together with the schools to enhance sports development in the country. But to go one step further, we are saying, every school must have safety ambassadors to identify learners that may come from dysfunctional families, together with deploying social workers in communities. They can work in a coordinated fashion to save the child and create a better generation to come. On the issue of health, the Allied Movement for Change is saying, enough is enough. Why should we put emphasis on treating people when they're about to die? What we believe is a preventative system like you have in Cuba. So we should be rolling out health professionals in all the different communities to have testing and things done to save our people from getting sick and dying. So that's the issue we have. In terms of the crime and corruption, first of all, we are saying police officers are underpaid, benefits are very poor. What we are saying is let's pay them better, let's recruit them from basic education level, let's put into the curriculum policing as one of the subjects so that we'll identify those that have a passion for policing and bring them in. But let us also say this. Let's look at the crisis that we face in terms of water and other the infrastructure. You cannot anymore want to repair or rehabilitate the infrastructure. It's collapsed. What we need is new infrastructure. The reason why you're not getting it in KwaZulu-Natal, because the emphasis is on water tankers, because that's where the corruption is. The Allied Movement for Change is saying that no politician, I want to repeat, no politician must have anything to employ or appoint any officials in any local government structures. And no politician must have anything to do with procurement or tenders. Let there be independent bodies that are responsible. This country loses 40% on goods and services alone. We want to take every municipality which is in the rural towns and at least make them into semi-urban towns by giving incentives for manufacturing sector. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Sheikh Imam. Thank you. We also have with us today the only independent candidate on the ballot in KwaZulu-Natal, Mr. Thanasegren Mudli. Welcome, sir. And what is your vision for the province?
Can I just stand? Right, first let me just address the elephant in the room here. I am a comedian, and I was going to do a comedy set, but I see my brother from the ANC did the comedy set for me. So, thank you very much. I'm only one of 11 independents on the candidate on the roll on the ballot sheet, and I'm the only independent in KZN, and I'm the only Indian independent in KZN, and that's important for me because I'm here. My electorate is the Indian community. I'm here on their behalf. I'm here to be a voice for them to address their challenges, which my electorate believes that we are marginalized, discriminated, and sidelined in the current status quo. What are the issues that faces our community? Well, the failed BE system is one of them, where we find ourselves not necessarily black as defined by the Constitution. When it comes to employment, our children, our families are at the back of the employment queue. When it comes to promotion in the workplace, we are not promoted, we are pushed sideways, we are pushed out. I can give you an example of a magistrate, acting magistrate, been acting for 10 years, and he'll never get the position, and he knows why. He is not black enough. If we go to education, in medical school, Indian students, if you didn't know, have to get the highest points of all the races to enter medical school. Why is that? That is discrimination. And even when that happens, only 2 students are allowed to enter medical school. Why is that? Those questions are not being answered. I am here to raise those questions on the highest platform. We also have a wonderful, rich history in this country, which is denied. Also good history and bad history. I mean, 1949 and 1985 were 2 great uprisings against our Indian community, but that history is forgotten. Nobody wants to talk about it. Let's now go to the race narrative. I mean, for too long, I've been hearing about Indian racism, Indian racism, Indian racism. Our brother from the EFF led a wonderful march in Phoenix calling out Indian racists. This is a narrative that needs to be debunked. This is a narrative that is breaking our community and our province apart. It is an absolute lie that needs to be debunked. In fact, Phoenix is the epitome and is a rainbow nation personified. That's what should be identified. 100%. Thank you. You agree, eh? There you go. And that leads me to social cohesion. Social cohesion is important, is important not only for the province, for the country, because I believe that KZN is the catalyst for the entire country. What happens in KZN affects the entire country. So Indo-African relationships need to be mended, need to be built, bridges need to be built, and we're not allowed to speak this race narrative. We are one, we need to work together. And to fix the problems in this country, whether it's electricity, whether it's water, let's start by employing the best people for the job. When we employ the best people for the job, 60% of our problems will be solved. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. We have Mr. Seelan Archery from the AMC party. What is your vision, sir, for the province of KwaZulu-Natal?
Thank you very much. The African Movement Congress is a newly formed party. We were civil society organizations that stepped up in order to fill the breach that was created by politicians and political parties that have run our country for 30 or more years. They have all failed us miserably, and you know that. Sitting here, giving you policies and making statements that this is how they are going to fix the country. We've heard this 10 years ago. We've heard this 5 years ago. And it has not materialized in the way they said it would. However, it requires all of us. Our diversity should be our strength in this province, if not in this country as a whole. Don't marginalize us and don't put us into little compartments because you fail at a policy level and implementation level. I think the policies maybe are not failing. They are good policies. The implementation stage is where government has failed miserably. And all those who sit in parliament are as guilty as the ruling party. The African Movement Congress says, in order to have change, you've got to clean out what is there in parliament and bring in fresh new faces and fresh new ideas. We can tell you, as a matter of conviction, that we sent proposals to the electricity ministry to say we have a solution for that particular problem. It's being researched at Mangosuthu University of Technology. We have a problem for the watershedding. That is being researched at the Tshwane University of Technology. Not a single minister has responded. I don't know if there's construction mafias available or the mafias are running our country. What do you think? Because that is where the monies are going. This diversity, and this crowd here is a diverse crowd. It needs to be able to, your power needs to be harnessed to reset our country. We need to start with resetting our economy, rebuilding our economy. That then leads to better quality jobs. That leads to better money spent on education. And that leads to monies being spent on their health care. And so the list can go on. But we have been sucked dry. The only thing that's not dry is the shit flowing in Phoenix. The only thing that's not dry is the shit flowing all over our province. What good story do you have to tell? We don't have water for days on end, months on end, in fact, going to a year. You keep putting plaster and bandage. The fellow who's putting the plaster and bandage is not qualified to do so. The only thing that works in our country.
Thank you, sir. Your time is up. Thank you. Mr. Zwakile Mtwango is from Action SA. Sir, what is your vision for KwaZulu-Natal?
Yeah, thank you, Lee, and greetings, everyone. Lee, our vision in the main is that of a non-racial society in our province, where there are equal opportunities for everyone, where there's economic prosperity and economic justice. But how we do that, we need to look at, as Action SA, we are focusing on thriving economy that can be able to create about 800,000 jobs in the next 5 years. But how do we do that? We look at the issue of infrastructure in our province, make sure that railway lines are working, make sure there's a connectivity from someone in rural areas and someone in urban areas, making sure that our ocean economy is actually working for us as KwaZulu-Natal. We are privileged as KwaZulu-Natal. We've got eThekwini Harbour and Richards Bay. We must utilize that. We have land in rural areas of agriculture. We need to revive agriculture and ensure that we bring even small-scale farmers to be involved in farming and also create jobs. We also need to ensure that the tourism sector is a center of jobs creation. But also, when we look at economic justice on the side, we are talking about ensuring that we will have empowerment fund. This empowerment fund, we are saying, will take 5% from companies, which is tax. We tax and we put this fund. And this fund will be dedicated to really look after those who have been deprived opportunities, where we talk of Africans, Indian, and colored specifically. So we are saying this is a sector that has been sidelined from the mainstream economy. Even during the 30 years of democracy, we're still left behind. So we are saying this fund will focus on education, tertiary education, will focus on ensuring we build infrastructure in rural areas. We ensure that we also build schools. We need to ensure that we provide our people with quality education, quality healthcare system. This money will be managed by independent board, not politicians that are corrupt. But also we want to make sure that we lead with ethical leaders. That is why we are saying as Section SA, myself as a premier candidate, I'm one of those who are saying, when I get elected, the first thing I will be doing is to subject myself to transparent and public lifestyle audit, because I believe that I must be audited and the people must know what I have when I enter the office. After every year, I must subject myself to lifestyle audit, because we need ethical leaders who are able to account on what they have and how they make money, not leaders who get to office and steal. But also, I must say, Lee, our vision, the main, is not that of people from rural areas moving to urban areas. We can't celebrate that. Our vision is to empower and uplift people where they are in rural areas. I'm from Wanongoma.
Thank you, sir.
My vision is to uplift it where
sir.
I'm from.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for that. Thank you. That's our first set of questions that we've asked the candidates. We'll now move on to the second part of our panel discussion, which we're going to ask our candidates some of the hot topic issues, some of the hot button issues facing our province. I would like to start off with the hot button issue of unemployment. And we can start from Mr. Papas again. He hasn't had a chance to speak in a few minutes. So unemployment is a pressing issue in South Africa, especially youth unemployment. It has often been described as a ticking time bomb. According to Stats SA, there are 7.9 million people are unemployed, and the youth make up the majority of these numbers. Given these alarming statistics, what are your party's plans to stimulate the economy, grow the economy, and create sustainable job opportunities? Mr. Papas?
Thank you very much once again. I think the most important thing when we talk about the economy is stability. Whether it is stability in policy, whether it is stability in infrastructure, whether it is stability in energy supply. whether it is stability in terms of our global partnerships, whatever it might be, our economy requires some sort of stability. We need a government that says something and actually does it. So when the government says they're going to fix the infrastructure, they need to actually fix it. When they say they're going to build partnerships around the world to prosper, let's do that. But what we don't have at the moment is that commitment to create stability. So the best thing that we can do for our economy is to invest in electricity, water, roads, rail, ports, and other logistical infrastructure to make sure that we attract that investment here. The second thing is policy stability. So there are political parties that have constant conversations around expropriation of property and land. This doesn't bring stability. No company is going to come invest here if tomorrow you're going to take their factory away from them or whatever it might be. So let's have policy stability is the second thing that we have to ensure. Now, the point that I want to make is that out of all the political parties sitting here, I represent a political party is not only talking about these things, but is doing these things in the Western Cape, where we have the lowest unemployment, where we have some of the highest amount of investment, where we have the most immigration because the infrastructure works. So we can have glossy manifestos and we can have great words, but is it actually possible when you get into government? But not only that, when you look at the city of Cape Town where the DA governs, or the Western Cape, or Midvaal, these municipalities and provinces are financially stable, their plans are good, and people are going there. So let's ensure that we have infrastructure stability, policy stability, and a government that actually does what they say.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. Mr. Ntuli from the IFP, how does the IFP plan to grow the economy and to solve the youth unemployment crisis?
No, thank you. In fact, some of the things I mentioned earlier, that in fact, reviving our economy will be a priority through different means, targeting different sectors of the society. I spoke about the issue of the stability in the province to ensure that investors are attracted and businesses are able to flourish, which then will provide job opportunities. More than that, like I said, different approaches, issues of agriculture, tourism, which have been already cited, will be one of the focus areas, but more in particular, ensuring that the people on the ground, they participate in the local economic development by ensuring that we support those as SMEs, those who are operating at a very smaller scale, to be sustainable in terms of their operation and creating jobs for the people there. And providing necessary skills, partnering with the private sector to provide skills to the unemployed or to the youth of our province, so that they will be able to have skills to participate in the economy by starting their own businesses, at the same time being able to contest whenever job opportunities avails themselves. The stability is more important for the province, so that everyone will have an interest and tapping to the vision of Ithala Bank, because in the main it was supposed to fund those who were starting their business. Unfortunately, today is no longer doing that. Instead, it's collapsing, and we'll have to revive Ithala Bank so that we'll be able to fund those who are starting business initiatives. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Ndebele, the ANC has been in charge of the country for the past 30 years. How do you plan to resolve the issue of youth unemployment and our country's unemployment as a whole?
Thank you very much. First and foremost, the reality is that internationally, the state of the economy, the world is not quite doing well, which then tells you that just like during the 1930s Great Depression, you need to come out with measures, new measures that respond and try to stimulate the economy. Throughout the world, it has been proven that the best way to do that is to invest in small business and medium business. The ANC government, through Presidential Stimulus Program, will put aside about 1.5 trillion, which will be invested in massive infrastructural development. And massive infrastructural development will lead to employment. What you need to do, you must, for example, turn KwaZulu-Natal into an industrial town. The more we build these clinics, schools, and hospitals, it's the more you are going to build jobs. Yes, you must create conducive environment for investors to come. But the reality is that investors have been striking since the dawn of democracy. There has not been coming handy to assist. As a result, you need programs. In KwaZulu-Natal, we have then had a special program again of targeting youth, because they constitute a core of those who are unemployment. We have put aside about 100 million, which we give, we award to institutions. We are going to increase that fund gradually to a tune of about 200 million, where young people are going to be assisted with funds so that they initiate and start their own business. Linked to that is education. If you do not empower the nation and do not to deal with skills, over the past years, we have been able to focus on universities. The next focus should now be at TVET College, so that we empower young people, and the skills that they come out are the skills that are responsive to the economy.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. Mr. Mzobe, the EFF has a big focus on youth. How do you plan to get the youth working in KwaZulu-Natal?
First, you employ all the doctors that are unemployed in KwaZulu-Natal, and you employ all the teachers that are unemployed in KwaZulu-Natal. Because you can't encourage the youth to go to school, and you have doctors unemployed in the country where clinics don't have doctors every day. It's a criminality that the EFF ought to stop on the 1st of June when we take power in KwaZulu-Natal. You need to create jobs are not going to be created through slogans of the past 8 years that people are striking. That's why they're not coming here. There's no investor who's going to come in the country where there's high rate of crime. There's no investor who's going to come in the country where there's no decisive leadership on policy positions. Now, the EFF, through its decisive leadership, Julius Malema, when we take over, you create as many as possible special economic zones. You invite companies as far as from China, through the BRICS relations we have, to come and create industries here instead of importing all the goods. All political parties now are printing T-shirts, millions of T-shirts, but none of them are produced in South Africa. These are jobs that we could easily, through textile industry, through the special economic zone, so that companies are giving tax incentives, that if you create jobs of 2,000 and more permanent jobs, not like this smartphone company that they brought here, President was here celebrating in KwaZulu-Natal. Within 3 years, it collapsed. Here at Dubai Trade Port. Because the ANC had no vision of the offtake. When you bring companies here, you must use the state power and the government budget to incentivize those companies that would buy those goods and services using our budget as a state.
Thank you, sir. Ms. Hlongwane Mhlongo, how do we get our youth working?
First, we ensure that they actually finish school. I think there are a lot of young people who start school who don't finish in the province and across the country, and we need to make an intentional investment in ECD centers. Secondly, we need to make sure that the infrastructure required for businesses to thrive is there. Electricity, your water, your roads, your rails. But most importantly, what we speak about at Rise Mzansi is reforming the educational system to ensure that anybody who matriculates with a certificate and a technical skill, so that if you aren't able to be employed or further your studies in higher institutes of higher learning, then you have a technical skill to be able to generate that. And part of the work in the last month is being able to collaborate with organizations and companies. I'm not sure if Paul is here, but it's one of the organizations we have partnered with, and we'll begin to roll out those technical trainings in community from next week. But it also goes around creating infrastructure for young people in community so that they don't have to leave Imlazi to come to the CBD to be able to access certain spaces and access certain programs. And again, it leads to investing in the programs that exist in community through ECD. It's investing in young people's talent and being able to widen how they contribute into the economy. We have the arts. It's not enough for us to sit up here and invite them to our rallies to perform if we're not running programs and building infrastructure to assist artists and sports players in community. As Rise Mzansi, I always feel as though help should always be an arm's length away. There is no reason for us to develop cities and towns and not develop townships as well as and the rural KZN parts. So that is our vision, to be able to create businesses that are sustainable for young people if we activate community economy as well and not just focused on the towns to be able to do that.
Thank you, ma'am. Mr. Sheikh Imam?
Okay, thank you very much. First of all, let me say this, it's not government's responsibility to create jobs. It's government's responsibility to create a conducive environment for jobs to be created. And most of those jobs should be coming from the private sector. Now, I can tell you there are lots and lots of job opportunities in the country, and we don't have the skills. At the same time, we have an abundance of certain skills, and there's no job opportunities. So one of the things that we need to emphasize on is to ensure that the curriculum at these TVET colleges and things speak to the skills needs of the country. Now, we're rolling out a lot of money in terms of national student financial aid, but not directed to the skills shortages that we have in the country. You can't find tilers, electricians, plumbers, carpenters, you can't find them. So shouldn't we be directing that money to those skills that we need and ensure that those colleges have the skills there to be able to train them in that particular field? What is happening currently is that the TVET colleges or these training colleges are taking in students based on the skills that they have. And that's where we are going wrong. That's the first thing. The Allied Movement for Change is saying there's one area that we can create a lot of jobs overnight. Give every person in KwaZulu-Natal, every family, including a single-parent family, subdivide the land available in your area and give them a piece of land for their homes. Give them a piece of land. Don't worry about the water and sanitation. Don't you think we'll be creating hundreds of thousands of jobs? But we're not willing to do that. Yet in this city alone, there's over 400,000 to 500,000 on the waiting list for home. So give them their dignity back, and you see the number of jobs that we'll be able to create. In the manufacturing sector, we have a serious problem.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much for that. Mr. Mudli, do you plan to create jobs for all or just the Indian community?
I think jobs for the Indian community is first and foremost on my agenda. But let me take that one step further and tell you what happens. Most of you know and understand that in order to create jobs, you need industry, you need business. And let us all accept that the Indian community is one of the most hard-working entrepreneurial communities around. We can create business, we can create jobs, we can help this community. But we don't have access to the billions of rands that are available for funding to fund small businesses. So let me give you an example as well, also for City Council, how City Council just throttles businesses. I tried to open a small business at home for my wife. The agenda they threw at me, the number of regulations you had to comply with, basically threw the business out the door. Apparently, the countertop that I was going to use wasn't conducive because my 18-year-old son might sit on the countertop. So she preferred me having the business in the garage, which was in worse condition than my kitchen. So essentially, the business license never came and the business never operated. Hence, we couldn't employ 1 or 2 staff to run. How do we create jobs if City Council itself, government itself, is throttling small business such as that? It's happening on a daily basis. I have experienced it. If we can open up the way, allow businesses to trade, make it easier to trade, we'll create employment.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Archery, how do you plan to create jobs?
Fix Eskom. Fix Eskom and don't sell it to white monopoly capital or to any capital. We won't be able to afford electricity in our homes. Currently, we can't. When they sell it off privately, you'll be in trouble. Fix that. Fix our water situation. Fix our sanitation. Fix Transnet. Fix the SOEs. We'll be able to generate a lot of jobs out of that. What we have existing, fix that. Don't sell it off and sign agreements with other countries where we have to buy our food which we could produce here. Get our agricultural colleges running. You can't give land to somebody who does not know how to utilize it properly. And I mean no disrespect. Teach them. And you see that land will become very productive. End to end. Therefore, our aim as the African Movement Congress is to ensure that we create sufficient jobs through making sure that the SOEs work, that the various companies, you know, in a country like Russia, they call the owners of factories and said, reopen these factories or lose it. We need to do that here. We are being strangled by businesses that have a monopoly of our government. We are being strangled, we are being squashed. So if we can get those factories open, I mean, we buy matchsticks from overseas. We buy toothpicks from overseas. My colleague said we buy T-shirts from overseas. You closed all our industries down. Hammersdale in KZN used to manufacture towels, shoes in Pietermaritzburg. Everything is made overseas. Get your small industries back on track. We'll create jobs.
Thank you,
if
sir.
we don't, we are in deeper trouble. We'll never rescue this economy.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. Mr. Mtwango, how does Action SA plan to create jobs, especially for the youth in our province?
Yeah, thanks, Lee. I think, Lee, I was the first one to talk about creating jobs and also growing economy. And we strongly believe that we need to develop our infrastructure to create our jobs. But I think, Lee, it's important to acknowledge the fact that eThekwini contribute 60% of our GDP in the province, meaning eThekwini must function for the province to really thrive. So it tells you that we need to quickly move to removing criminal syndicates in eThekwini. That is why we believe when we get to government, we look at putting an administrator in eThekwini who will ensure that we have our development in eThekwini in terms of tourism. Currently, Action SA is in court, litigation against the city on the issue of sewer infrastructure, which really affect tourism. If you affect tourism, affect jobs. So we are saying we need to ensure that we create an environment in KwaZulu-Natal to create these deserving and necessary jobs for our young people especially. But we need to remove red tapes. We need to make sure that our municipalities, for example, when they look at tariffs, they use tariffs in line with CPI. Because if you have these high tariffs, you're actually putting off investors in our province. We need to attract investors because government can't create jobs by itself. You need to enable an environment that is conducive enough to create these jobs. We will focus on agriculture as well to ensure that young people are also involved in small-scale farming and also grow in that industry. That is why we are clearly in saying where we're going to get money to support SMMEs. We have SMMEs who are not supported. They need capital. We are saying this empowerment fund will help a young person to have a capital to start the business. That is why we are clear that where we're going to get money. But as well, we are saying government must cut unnecessary expenditure, like your VIP protection that we see every day. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. You can keep the mic there, Mr. Mtwango. We're going to start with you with the next set of questions we move down. The next button issue here in KZN is service delivery. You all know that we have communities that have not had water for months and sometimes years. Electricity does not go into every home in this province. We have sewage that is flowing into our ocean. We have investors that are wanting to pull out of our beachfront. How do we resolve, how do we get service delivery going again? How do we get to the issues to make sure that, because service delivery speaks to also investor confidence. If we have good service delivery, our communities are happy, they're going to stay in this province, they're going to spend their money in this province. What is your position on service delivery, and how do we get KZN back?
I think firstly, Lee, there's nothing that can't be fixed in this province if we get right leaders. And we need leaders with a vision. First of all, what we're saying is Action SA, we need to look at the issue of water, for example. Water is a serious challenge in our province. It's for that reason we are saying when we get to power, we will have a unity at a provincial level that involve local municipalities and authorities that provide water to ensure there's a clear strategy on how the budget is utilized to make sure that in areas where there is no infrastructure for water, we make sure there's infrastructure for water. But where there's infrastructure, but it's not really maintained, we need to focus on maintenance of infrastructure. If you look at eThekwini, for example, the issue is aging infrastructure, which is not maintained. If you look at South Coast, in Port Edward, for example, there's issue of infrastructure, which is not really maintained. It's for that reason, Lee, on the 6th of May, we are meeting with our legal team. We are looking at Human Rights Commission report on how we can go to court to force this current government to do what it's supposed to be doing in providing people with clean and sufficient water. So we are saying when we get to power, our priority will be on water infrastructure and also basic services, because those basic services actually enable environment even for investors to address this issue of jobs creation, because they can only come in an area where there are basic services being provided to the communities.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Archley, how will your party address inefficiencies in the service delivery of water, electricity, sanitation services, and what timeline can you commit to these improvements?
So currently, the municipalities in KZN have rewritten the book on inefficiency. They gloat over the inefficiencies and say, we've done this, we've done that, we've done the other. It is absolutely horrendous in terms of service delivery, and all of you sitting here know that. What we need to do is make sure that we enhance the issue of bringing in professionals, irrespective of their race, to fix the problems that we have. One example, I spoke to an engineer who was an expert on water. He says, dredge the dams. The dams are full with mud and silt and sand. If you clean that up, you'd be able to get more water stored in those dams. Some of the technicians that we employ to fix the pipe, you fix it on one day, it's broken the following week. What does it say about the quality of the people employed? And so that's where we are lacking. The municipalities are at the cold face of service delivery. Our municipalities throughout KwaZulu-Natal are in default. You can't sing and dance and expect us to dance with you when we have problems. It is a sad state of what is happening. So we need expert people that would run the different departments. Clearly, politicians are not. You need to get in the best brains to run it as opposed to the color. Transformation means transforming into a successful municipality, not a successful color. And the color doesn't only have to be black. It can be any color so long as we got our services going. And that is what we are proposing. Bring the best person for the job, man or woman, and you'll be able to get these municipalities back on track.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. Mr. Budley, how do we resolve the issue of service delivery in KwaZulu-Natal?
I think my colleague here, and most of them have so far said the right things, what's supposed to be done. You get the right person for the job, and my connections are waiting in Chatsworth to do the job. They are qualified, but they are not being considered for the job. So I concur with him that we need the right people for the job, number one, the right people to do the job. They don't have to do it again. But more especially, here's what I believe is, even if you have somebody down the line doing the job, it's the line management that's also important. The guy at the head of the plumbing knows nothing about plumbing. So how, when the guy reports back to him, he's fixed the pipe using sellotape, he's okay with it. So he comes back and reports to you, it's fixed. And then it's broken again. So we have to have the competent people all the way. If you are in charge of a department, you should know how to run the department. You should know how long it takes to fix a pipe or to fix that job. That's number one. And when they fix it and it breaks, there should be accountability to that person. If you work for a company and you did a repair job and it came back a week later, which costed the company, then you have to account for it. I think all those things need to be put in place. Affirmative action needs to be gone, right people for the right job, and good leadership who want to take control of their department and their staff to ensure the job is done.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Sheikh Imam?
Yes, thank you very much. I think, first of all, in order to enhance delivery of services, I said this earlier, you need to have the right kind of people. And in order to get the right kind of people, then you have to stop cadre deployment. So what we are saying is that no politician, again, should have anything to do with employing or appointing anybody. And if you stop that, I can assure you, you'll have better delivery of services. The second thing is just the issue of procurement. KZN and Western Cape are the top 5 municipalities in terms of corruption in the country in the latest survey and report that was given. 40% is lost annually on goods and services. So if your administration is 60 to 70%, and 40% of that budget is now being lost through corruption and embezzlement, how much is left there for delivery services? That is why we're saying get rid of that corruption. Keep politicians out of this if you want to be able to deliver. Now the issue is, do you have the skills in the country? We don't, because we're not producing those skills. We are producing those with business, management, and other things. Are we producing those plumbers, those electricians we need? We're not doing it. That is why we are importing them from Cuba and things. So let's address that. If we can address that, I think we can enhance the quality of services that we deliver to the people. But the most important thing is this: it's the people on the ground. If you choose to want to support those that can sing and dance, this is what you're going to have. You need to ensure that you support organizations and politicians and political parties that will eat, sleep, walk, and talk, serving the people. And that's what must happen.
Thank you, sir. Ms. Longwani Mhlongo, how does Rise Mzansi plan to solve the issue of service delivery in our communities?
Well, can you hear me?
Yes.
So I'll say it since my colleagues didn't. We must remove the ANC. And I think, again, a lot of our issues are, the mic is not working. So a lot of our issues are not. Hi, thank you. So we need to remove the ANC in case somebody missed that. And a lot of our issues, again, are around leadership as a country. That's the biggest issue we have. You remove the ANC, you vote in leaders who actually care and center communities, leaders who will take money allocated and, refurbish infrastructure, build more infrastructure to extend to rural KZN. Because part of the issue with electing leaders who don't center communities is that you find that abantu abasemkhomazi is still living on a bucket system, even in 2024. You find abantu abaselundi nonongoma picking leaves of trees, sitting with land, but they aren't able to grow food, and they die of hunger. You find kids reported every single day drinking contaminated water, playing in feces. And then there's an absence of leadership in eThekwini. Stella, absolute silence. We continue to have a government in eThekwini and KZN across the country who does not care whether the people of South Africa live or die. Prioritizes bagging money for themselves and their families and not prioritizing the people. So get rid of the ANC, vote in leaders who center communities and who are able to make important decisions for the benefit of everybody in this country.
Thank you, ma'am. Mr. Mzobe?
Thank you. I think people of KwaZulu-Natal must appreciate that the problems we're talking about are not God-made. These are man-made problems because for the past 30 years, they've elected people who are incapable of governing. Now, these elections must help us remove the ANC from KwaZulu-Natal, and hopefully people of KwaZulu-Natal elect the EFF to do the following. You elect the EFF leadership to create a state-owned housing company so that we build quality houses, not the RDP houses that collapses within a year. And we finish all the water projects that are not finished in KwaZulu-Natal so that we can take water to the houses of our people and deal with sanitation, the chaos you see at eThekwini under the leadership of Kaunda. But most importantly, we've arrived at the conclusion that there is no need for provinces. We're going to elections, I can tell you now, none of the things we're talking about are done by provincial government. It's too much administration, too much budget being given to provinces. We believe that if you abolish provinces, you take the budget to municipalities where water is being provided, where these houses are going to be built, and this water infrastructure we're talking about. And we believe that if we abolish provinces, all the capacity of administrators that are sitting in the provincial level doing nothing will be taken down to municipalities where the actual work is supposed to be done. And maybe that there are two mayors here who will understand that most of the work that we're talking about of water, houses, sanitation is done by municipalities. The provinces only exist, we don't know for what really, because there is no service that warrant a province to be delivered. You can take money from national government straight into the local municipality. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Mdebele.
Thank you very much. First and foremost, I must indicate that we have really lowered the bar in terms of politicians and in terms of the offer that you want to present. I'm saying this because people have found easy and shortcut answers to very complex and difficult challenges that engulf and face our country. Remove the ANC, do this, but there is no tangible plan. Let me tell you, for example, because you must not be simplistic and then want people to clap hands and say populistic things on complex challenges that need experience, understanding. One, in terms of water, you must deal with a program of water conservation. Two, you must deal with a program, have put in place plans for water rain harvesting, which has been the challenges over the years. Secondly, you must deal with desanitation and then be able to ensure that in areas such as the Tegwini, how do you use new technology to ensure that you harvest water from the sea, which is now difficult to use. Three, you must deal with water pricing. The reality is that the majority of our people do not pay for this particular service, and linked to that is water leakages. And there are a lot of water leakages which are not reported, but at times when they are reported, we take time to respond to that. And as a result, the research tells you that we lose over 40% of water that's supposed to go to our people. You need a particular tangible plan. And as a result, we have came out, or we are proposing an integrated resource management plan, which is going to be able to comprehensively be used by what you call government and communities, and we have call centers, and we are able to respond to practical program, not rhetoric and politicking that we want to do for people to clap hands for us.
Thank you. Mr. Ntuli, service delivery, how do we solve it?
Well, thank you. One is to ensure that the infrastructure is working for the people. We have a lot of the aging infrastructure that needs to be, in fact, repaired and maintained. That is the fundamental problem, one of the fundamentals. During our time, we once governed here with 3 premiers. The infrastructure that was there by that time was working for the people. The situation was not as bad as it is today. And because of believing in professionalizing and depoliticizing both public sector, where we participate at a level of the provincial government and even at a level of municipalities. Rooting out corruption, which in fact is malignant to the progress in terms of preserving the infrastructure that we have, because all the projects that we're doing as the IFP, they were completed. Even where I govern as the mayor of King Cetshwayo, we start project and we complete project. That is why we got clean audit. We are the only district in KwaZulu-Natal that got clean audit. You can come to a Durban, you can go to wherever. The only district that got clean audit is the district that I govern. Because of the kind of governments that we are providing and partnering with the private sector, because the other fundamental problem when it comes to local government, they are only receiving 9% of the equitable share. Hence, it's important to partner with the private sector so that we deal with the infrastructure, so that new infrastructure and repairing and maintaining the infrastructure, at the same time ensuring that we support the local government as the provincial government, because to have skills that will enable those who are employed engineers, etc., to be able to provide quality services for the people.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. Mr. Papas.
Thank you very much. I think there's a lot of surface level stuff has been spoken about here, but at the core of it, we're talking about a provincial government and sorting out the province. So the first thing that we need to do is depoliticize COCTA, the Department of Local Government. This is supposed to be an agency, a government department that supports municipalities. So instead of wasting money on all these imbizos and things that we do to give out T-shirts and food parcels. Let's redirect that funding to help local governments. There are many local governments who are just financially unviable because of the way that we've set up in 1994 the wall-to-wall municipality system. So let's make funding available for those municipalities to be able to engage in infrastructure programs. The second thing is that the DA will establish a provincial infrastructure agency. Now, this pools resources across different levels of government, unlike the EFF who wants to get rid of different levels of government, to pool resources to ensure efficiency. The next thing is accountability. Now, there's no accountability in the system of cadre deployment. Cadres are moved around from administrator to different HODs, and there's no accountability. Let us fire government officials who are not delivering. Let us fire politicians who are not delivering and replace them with capable people who can do the job. The next thing I want to speak about is investment. Now, you can always tell what a government their priorities are by where the money goes. Now, if you look at the city of Cape Town, for example, they spend more on infrastructure investment than the city of Johannesburg and the city of eThekwini combined. This is future-proofing your city for infrastructure development. But in eThekwini, the money goes towards security and water tankers. So it shows you where the money is going and how things are going. The last thing I want to mention in closing is a capable and ethical state. To create a capable and ethical state, we must ensure, number one, accountability, but number two, that the policies that we set and the plans that we set are actually being implemented. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. So we're going to go to the next part of our panel discussion, and we're going to open it up to the floor. So I'm going to ask for the first 5 questions. So if you just raise your hand, and we will we'll get a mic to you. Just announce your name, where you're from, and who your question is directed to. So the first 5, we'll do 5, and then after that, the next round we'll do another 5.
There we go. Good morning, everyone. My name is Famida Shimam. I represent the KZN NPO network. So we're a network of nonprofit organizations that provide services to the communities. It was very interesting hearing the inputs from the various political parties, and maybe this is just across the board for each of you. I'm interested to understand, how do political parties view the relationship with the nonprofit sector and with civil society? And how do you view this relationship going forward in terms of NPOs and the government in supporting those who are most vulnerable? And also, what is your party's plans to strengthen the relationship? I think to some extent, Mr. Shlongwane spoke about it in terms of centering it around communities, but I'm just interested to understand how you're going to take that forward. And the second question that I want to ask quickly is that while I represent the NPO network, I also represent older persons. And I must say I'm so disappointed to hear not a single political party talking about older persons. There was a report that was released last year by UCT that talks, it's called the Forerunner Report, that positions the numbers of older persons that we have in South Africa. So at the moment we have quite a number of older people. I think it's 9.2% of our population, 5.6 million people. And this is set to increase in the coming years. And yet, none of the political parties are talking about how we will create an enabling environment for older people, where we change the narrative from older people just being consumers of service, but also being part of the solutions. So when we're talking about skills development, when we're talking about how do we create entrepreneurship, what is the relationship between the generations that can foster that kind of agenda? Because at the end of the day, we want a society for all ages. Thank you.
Ma'am. The next question.
Hi, good day. I'm from an organization. Okay. I can be heard now. My name is Vasi Govender. I am from the Voice of Phoenix, an NPO. We don't have much knowledge or intelligence in terms of politics. However, our passion drives us to serve our community. This is a good set of salesmen out here that are vying for positions in the provincial government. But here they're complaining about politicians. They're still complaining about politicians, but you want to go into those positions. I fail to understand that there, okay? That for me beats it. But I am not sure if this is the correct panel, like the gentleman from the EFF had rightfully pointed out, to address our issues. When you speak about the EFF in particular, you speak about redistribution of land. I believe you are contradicting yourself, because land distribution is going to cause much of our demise in this country. Whereas the EFF in particular is condoning the foreigners to come and take away all our jobs here. So let's forget about jobs. We're going to be jobless very, very soon, because the community of Phoenix, for one, is invaded by foreigners. The issues that are spoken here, and rightfully said again, is that the 2/3 majority is required in national government to make decisions that you people say you all are going to make. So in essence, there's no reason for provincial government. Now, to the action essay, they say to us that we can have plantations. We live in a concrete jungle, sir. We can't plant potatoes. We can't plant onions next to us. So that's a waste of time. The IFP, sir, I want to bring this to your attention, particularly to the IFP. When we were invited to your rally in Phoenix, we engaged with you and we encouraged a young person out there to come out and be one of your front runners in provincial government. You'll have ignored us. A good potential was there in Phoenix, but you'll ignored us. You know why? There's gatekeeping. And if you look at why the youngsters don't have a job, because all of you have passed the age of 60 and you still want to be in political position. How do you expect the youngsters to come up? That's a ridiculous question to ask people and for the youth to be encouraged into provincial parliament.
Thank you, sir. Can we wrap up the last question?
Sorry, I have the last question.
Please, let's wrap up.
Mzansi Rising, ANC and DA have both led this country, ANC and DA. So I am saying, Mzansi Rising, yes, you are quite right. We need to remove the ANC. We also need to remove the DA, because the DA was also there for the past 30 years, and even before, when they misled us. So both political parties need to be removed out of our constituency. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. That was more of a comment. Do you have another question? Yes, sir.
Good morning, all. Firstly, I want to say well done to the panelists here. You have, I think, performed well. I know that it's difficult to sit there and make yourselves known firstly, as well as trying to make yourselves known on what you're going to give to this province. So to the independent candidate and the political parties, well done. What I think you've failed to raise, KwaZulu-Natal is one of the best provinces in regards to the coastline, our beauty of the coastline, our temperature. None of you, there are little countries that are running on tourism. They run the country on tourism. Forget about agriculture and other things that we could supplement, just tourism. So I just want to ask one question. What is your plan for tourism? And I'm going to give other people a chance as well who have got questions.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. My question will be directed to Mr. Nduli. Pemba, what are your plans in trying to assist young people, the unemployed graduates in this province? The second question is, what are your plans in trying to revive the economy in townships? Thank you.
Thank you. I think we'll stop there. Let's let the panel answer the questions. We had one on township economies, another question on NPOs, and then tourism, our coastline. Tied to that, to the tourism on the coastline, we also have a lot of international companies drilling on our coastline for oil and gas. Could that also be something that could unlock our economy, and what are your positions on that? So let's start in the middle with Ms. Slongwane Mhlongo with those questions.
Thank you so much. The first question around NPOs. So my background is in civil society. I've spent 13 years working in South Africa, primarily in KZN, facilitating trainings, community cohesion programs. So the first thing that we did, even when we were creating our People's Manifesto, was consulting with different stakeholders. We actually had a consultation with civil society 3 weeks back to find out what their main issues were, and one of them were funding, access to funding. So when I did deliver my plan last week, Thursday, on the Pagama KZN plan, I mentioned that civil society has to be at the center of servicing communities and needs to be supported in terms of resources and monetary grants to be able to do that. But the thing, and we've seen the work of civil society during COVID, it was civil society who was on the ground assisting communities. July riots, it was civil society who was, assisting communities, and many other instances. During the floods, it's civil society who runs day and night to be able to support communities in that sense. I don't think there are political parties that can attribute a lot of the work that is done to themselves. It has to be civil society. So investing in making sure that you have infrastructure to work in, repurposing community halls so that you're able to access them, not just for community meetings, but to roll out your programs. And again, making sure that we have set aside enough funding without the red tapes for civil society to be able to access that and action out their duties. Older persons is something that I speak about in the KZN program as well. We are currently, when I leave here, I'm supporting a team of 60 plus older women who have a soccer team which have won multiple leagues. So part of what we do, again, in partnership with civil society, is to identify those groups to be able to do that work meaningfully and intentionally.
Thank you. Mr. Mzobe, we can go down this way.
Thank you. I think we'll start.
Can I just ask the panelists to keep your answers for this round of questions to 1 minute, please?
On the land one, I think it's easier if you don't have a history of your people being killed, raped for the land. The struggle for South Africa was never a struggle for one man, one vote, or tenders. It was primarily a battle about the ownership and the control of the land. That's where we're starting from. Now, the EFF says the land must return back to its right owners, the people of South Africa, through the custodianship of the state. Now, to say when we return the stolen land to its rightful owners will create a war. It's a war that we think South Africans need for them to be economically liberated, because the reason we do not have the economy in our hands is primarily because of the ownership of land that is still within the hands of 10% of the population. On tourism, there's one neglected area on tourism, the rural tourism. When we talk about tourism, we're only talking about eThekwini. It's important, yes, because of the warm weather and people come there. But KwaZulu-Natal is rich with its own heritage. People want to come to KwaZulu-Natal to understand where were the kings staying, and we think we must promote rural tourism. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Mdele?
Thank you. Thank you very much, and thanks for those questions. Look, as the ANC in our manifesto, first and foremost, we believe that civil society plays a key role to drive progress in the society. Many changes that are and that should take place at community level must be driven by small and medium enterprises, but also by non-governmental organizations. As a result, we believe more money must be put in place in assisting them. As we speak, we have now put in place an act that unites, and I will link that with tourism, that ensure that all different government entities, you'll be aware that we inherited different government entities such as Ezemvelo, wildlife, tourism, and so forth. We want to put all of them under one umbrella and then have them being under an independent board of directors that they will be responsible for conservation. Of course, centrally in
Thank you, sir.
KwaZulu-Natal.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Ntuli.
Well, thank you very much. Well, on the township economy, I'll start with that one. Fundamentally, in our 15 points manifesto of the Province of KwaZulu-Natal, we have said for the illegal foreigners, we will ensure that all those spaza shops and tuck shops and even whatever economic activities that are taking place in the township are given back to the rightful owners, the people of this province of KwaZulu-Natal. That is point number one. While using other strategies that we have alluded to earlier. On the issue of all of us being more than 60, you see, we have one of the candidates, Mapisa, can you stand up? That one is not even 50, including myself, I'm just 51. So it's not true that there's no gatekeeping in the IFP. On the NPOs, in our 15 points, point number 12, it speaks to the NPOs, meaning that the IFP cares about the NGOs.
Thank you for that, Mr. Ntuli. Mr. Papas?
Thank you very much. So what is politics? Politics is how we as society get together and decide how we manage our resources. So when colleagues stand up here and say we must get rid of politicians and we must have new leaders, they themselves are involved in politics because they want to mobilize resources for society. So we're all politicians, regardless of what you say. Now, the important thing is relationships that we have to build as government. And again, you can always tell what a government's relationship is with people by where they direct their funding. Mr. Ndebele is obviously reading the wrong manifesto. You're here on behalf of a different party because the ANC government has actually cut funding to NPOs. So while myself and the Umgeni municipality is funding NPOs to do the work that they are effective and efficient at, the national government and the provincial government is cutting funding. And that's what we'll continue to do. Build partnerships, fund those who are good at what they do to look after the vulnerable and those in need in our society. Tourism in 10 seconds. If we don't have roads that get to places, if we don't have water in our hotels, if our sea cannot be swum in, then no one's going to come here. So let's go back to what we were saying earlier. Let's fix the infrastructure. Let's promote our province and get people back to KwaZulu-Natal.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Mtwango, do you have a mic?
Two. Mic grabbing. Yes, sir, Benzo.
No, oh, just the mic. Is it fine? The mic as well.
It's mic grabbing here.
All right.
Lee, on the issue of NPO, it's at the center of our manifesto. We talk about building a strong relationship with NPOs because we acknowledge that politicians don't have all the solutions. We must work with NPOs to address some of the challenges facing our country. And also the issue of elderly people. As Action SA, I can tell you, ma'am, last week I was having a program somewhere in Nongoma distributing walking sticks for elderly people because we acknowledge older people in our country. That is why as well, in terms of our manifesto, we don't discriminate saying opportunities must be reserved for young or older. We are saying South Africans must get equal opportunities regardless of age. So we don't discriminate of age. On the issue of tourism, I was, I think, the only one who spoke about tourism in eThekwini and the challenges we are facing. I even said, as Action SA, we are the only party currently in court trying to force the municipality to fix infrastructure because we are worried about tourism in
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much. I'm 18 till I die. So if you have an age problem, I've sorted that one out. As regards NPOs and civil society organizations, I said at the initial stage, we stepped up as civil society organizations to fill that breach where politicians have lied to us. I am not a politician. The government has misled us. we are now getting into that space in order to redo or to correct, I think that's the answer, to correct that which you have missed. So, as regards NPOs, when we phone our politicians and our leaders, they don't take our calls, we can't get through to their offices because we are NPOs and NGOs. We are seen as a nuisance value. Only election time do you know us. And you make statements that are not true. And you've cut the funding for the lifeline of your society. Where that money is going to, only God knows. As regards tourism, it's an important aspect, Omi. It's a key aspect in KwaZulu-Natal.
Thank you, sir.
And we should pay attention to it.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Moodley?
Just the lady on the NPOs, I don't know others here, but I've been on the ground working with NPOs for a long time and understand clearly what you're talking about and the amount of great work that's being done by people who put their hands in their own pockets because the monies are not coming. But right now where I want to be is I want to be in a position to understand why is the money not coming, where is the money going to, where is the money being directed to, because there are funds there, but they're not being directed to the right place. With regards to tourism, the honorable gentleman spoke about the oceans here. At one stage we had a blue flag status, now we've got brown things floating in the water, so that's a no-no at the moment for me. We have to get that right first. And as far as tourism goes, the guy spoke about township tourism. It got me thinking that even in my townships of Phoenix and Chatsworth, we have such a vibrant, bustling community. We have bustling markets. We see markets all across the world, people going to these informal markets. In Phoenix and Chatsworth, we have these markets where we see Indians and Africans working together, where we see real social cohesion at work. So why don't we bring the international tourists to these places and see South Africa at work?
Thank you,
That'll be
sir.
fantastic.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Shaky, ma'am?
Yeah, thank you very much. I think on the issue of NPOs and NGOs, I think one of the issues that we have, that NPOs and NGOs, the moment they align themselves to political parties, it becomes a problem. They should remain independent. And I can tell you there are billions of rands coming into this country, in fact locally and from internationally, that NGOs are benefiting from. But some of them will go out with a placard when somebody is raped. What are we doing to prevent those people from being raped? So I think when you create and form that alignment with political parties, keep your independence, because otherwise politicians will expect you to support them, and that's the one problem we got. On tourism, you know, on tourism, if you look at the state, let's take Durban for that matter. Yes, it was a tourism destination for many international visitors. But look at the ocean itself. Look at the high levels of crime. Look at the state of the city on its own.
Thank you, sir.
Who wants to come in?
Thank you, sir.
Oh, that's it. Oh,
Thank
time
you.
is out.
We're going to move on to the next set of, well, the next question. We're going to ask one question this time, and we're going to ask you to please limit it to one question, and then after we'll let the panel answer, and then we'll move on to the next one.
I think in the interest of ensuring speed and the accuracy of our questions, if there is a particular panelist that you'd like to address the question to, if we could do that. And then panelists, if we can just keep our answers nice and succinct. Our first two questions, one over here, and then there's one on the left there, and then we'll take the next round.
I hope you can hear me. My name is Pelele Chirwa, and I come from Activate, which is a youth development organization, and my question and comment is directed to Mr. Moodley. I think it's fine for us to sit here and laugh at your jokes, but the racial manifestos are not welcome in South Africa. It's not helping in South Africa. And I think I want to say that and say to everybody who's been listening and laughing to say that it's not a joking matter. If you want to build this province and you want to build this country, we have no time for racial manifestos, and I want to address that to you if maybe no one will address that. Thank you.
Do you want to respond? Do you want to respond?
I have to respond?
Yes, absolutely.
Ma'am, the only reason I'm raising a racial manifesto because no one wants to talk about this racial problem. I am experiencing a racial problem at the moment. You don't know my situation. You don't know what I'm going through. So I am raising my issue. The moment we as a minority raise our voice, then it's an issue. Then it's an issue. I am going to be the one to voice it and scream it from the towers above. Having a pro-Indian agenda doesn't make me anti-black. First, get that into our heads. It means first we have to harness our own potential, know who we are, before we can integrate into society and work properly. Unity in diversity. I spoke about social cohesion as well in my speech, but you seem to have forgotten that. But I will tell you quite clearly, if we are not going to speak for our own agenda, if people run around calling me a racist, I must then speak about it and debunk that myth, and I'm here to do that.
Thank you, sir. All right, the next question. I think we got in the front there. We got someone in the front.
Hold on. We
have
somebody at the back, and then we'll come. Sorry.
Hi, my name.
Yes, your mic is on.
Hi, my name is Zora Teke. I'm a restaurateur in Durban, and I also represent the Florida Road Business Association. Thank you to all the panelists who took the time out to chat to us. My concern and my comment is more a comment to the ANC panelists. I have to speak from the heart and say it was heartbreaking listening to you, and it's heartbreaking listening to the ANC each time you address the audience, talking about we have a good story to tell. The ANC had a good story to tell after the elections. It's no longer a good story. And I think that is something that the party must take cognizance of. The talk of renewal is just shop talk once again. My question to you is, when is the ANC going to get rid of the ostrich mentality it currently has? When are you going to actually listen to what people are saying? Those days are gone where you had a good story to tell. You have to start listening more. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Ndewele, you're going to respond to that?
No. Thank you very much for that comment, ma'am. It is an opinion that we value so much as the African National Congress. As the movement, we have been consistent in saying, we believe there has been a lot of achievement made ever since the dawn of democracy. And those are historic facts documented. For example, ma'am, scientifically, if you go to State SA Research, which conducts scientific data, it will tell you about the lot of achievement made through this democratic breakthrough. It will tell you about the life of ordinary people who were changed by this particular ANC. However, it will be disingenuous of us as the ANC to say to you, everything is fine, well and good. That is why we said our story is that of achievement, challenges, and corrective measures. We have acknowledged where we have achieved, and we will refuse to be told not to acknowledge our achievement. But also, we must be able to listen and listen to the people and then correct where they are challenges.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you, and greetings to you and the panelists. I would have had two questions, but I think I have one fundamental question. Yeah, I'll do one, and I'll do it to everyone. I had one that I really wanted to ask Tammy, but I'll just do one to everyone. I just want to understand. Here, I'm saying 1 woman and 8 guys. I want to understand what are political parties doing as it relates to women emancipation? What is it that makes most political organization being led by a man and being controlled at the center by a man? I want to understand what is it that political parties are willing to do in the organizations to change the status quo.
Mr. Pappas, you have 30 seconds to answer that question. Mike, could you have a mic, please? You have a mic to answer? We're going to give you 30 seconds to answer the question.
Thank you very much. A strange question coming from a person whose provincial leader and national leader are both men, but nonetheless. So all political parties have an obligation to ensure that we have diversity across all different sort of categories, whether it is gender, whether it is rural, urban, whether it is educated, uneducated, whether it is racial, whatever it might be. So the political parties that are sitting here and the independents are not just the sum total of the faces that you see here.
Thank you, sir.
There are whole organizations behind us.
Thank you. Mr. Ntuli, how do you answer that question? 30 seconds.
Well, we are striving as the IFP to ensure that we empower the women. That is why the Deputy National Chairperson of the IFP, you can mention the likes of the one who seated at the back there, many participating in parliament and even in local government. The municipal manager of Nkandla is a woman. The mayor of Umlala is a woman. So many, they are empowered, they are in senior positions. We believe in women.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Ndebele?
As we speak right now, through the ANC, all leaders of arms of state, be it judiciary, be it legislature, be it executive, are led by women. As we speak now, all NOMSA is still the premier of KwaZulu-Natal. As we speak now, we have increased the number of MECs in KwaZulu-Natal. As we speak, the Speaker of the Legislature is a woman. As we speak, for the first time in history, the Deputy Chairperson of the ANC in KwaZulu-Natal is a woman. As we speak in our candidate, the number of women who are in the list are over 50%. The ANC is practically the
Thank
same.
you. Mr. Mzobe?
The EFF is serious about women emancipation, and we believe that is not the role of men to emancipate women. Women are capable enough to be given responsibilities. That is why the top 6 of the EFF, 3 of them are women, and all our list 2 legislatures and parliament, at least a minimum of 50% of them, it's women. We take it very seriously. We are against token women leadership like we see in KZN, where a premier is bullied every day. And as an EFF,
Thank you,
we think we must
thank you,
stop that
sir.
on the 29th of May.
Thank you, sir. Ms. Longwane Mlungu?
So by design, wow. So by design, we didn't have a women's league at Rise Mzansi. We also don't have a youth league. And it's not to say there haven't been historically movements and issues that they've been able to champion as women leagues. But when we speak about issues, we speak about them on the same table as Usongezo, and it's not about how you feel about them, it's about data. So I'm 37, premier candidate for Rise Mzansi in KZN. Vuyiswa Ramakgopa is
Thank you,
38 in GP. So young people and women are
Thank you,
centered.
ma'am.
Thank you very much. Yes, indeed, I can tell you that the Allied Movement for Change, our premier candidate in KZN, Mashinini Mapumulo, we have women representation in all spheres, in all provinces and national. But let me tell you where this emanates from, the statement that I always make. You can have everything in the world, and if you don't have a mother, you got nothing. If you've got a mother and you've got nothing else, you got everything. That's where we come from.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Moodley, does this apply to you? You are
Yeah, I'm just saying that I'm better at a loss how to address your issue, if you don't mind. But you raised an important matter, and I have to take cognizance of that and make sure that even as an independent, there must be equal opportunity in me as well. So I'm thinking in the next meeting, I reserve the right to identify as a woman, and I can address.
Thank you,
that.
sir.
So
Thank you. Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. I'm wondering why the ANC did not send a female here instead of this particular rep. That would have answered your question. You have plenty in your fold to send a woman rep here. You shouldn't be complaining. You sent him here. And I want to also say, I pray every day to Mother Mariaman. It's a female god, our mother. And so I have no problem with that. We are a new party, so we haven't formed a women's league as yet. We'll get there, and we'll compete with you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Action SA is committed to women empowerment. Our national spokesperson, for example, is women, not because she's woman, but she's capable. And we believe that we need to give opportunities to women because they are capable and have the capacity to do so. And I don't think we must reduce them to numbers. And I think you asked a question, when you were faced with a choice to choose leaders in your province, you didn't support a woman. So we must live what we are saying. So it's very important that we don't reduce women to statistics, but they are capable. That is why as Actionists we are committed to empower women
Thank you,
in our
sir.
country.
Thank you, Mr. Mkwango. All right, also next question.
We've got 2 over here. We've got 3.
Good morning.
Just one question, please, and direct it to an individual, if you can.
Good morning, everybody. My name, thank you. Good morning, everybody. My name is Kanyisa Mandlagai Sepoy. My question is directed to new political parties. We have seen what other political parties have done or not done in the past 30 years. As you would like to be part of governance, what have you done before you become government? What have you done right now before you get into power? Thank you.
Are you asking that question
The
to
new
rise,
political
to rise
parties.
Mzansi, everybody
Action
to,
and SA, Rise Mzansi, and anyone who's new on the panel. Thank you so much.
all right, let's start with Rise Mzansi. Do you have a mic here, guys? Yeah, you got one. All right, thank you.
Thank you so much for the question. So, where do I begin? So, during the floods, we have been able to partner with companies and organizations to be able to assist communities. We are going back to Inanda Ward 107 to repair somebody's home that was affected by the floods. We center sports and arts. Should I wait?
Continue, sorry.
We center arts and sports in communities as a way of, again, convening communities and being able to support young people. I did mention that we're rolling out a technical skills training program next week that'll be touching on the 6 municipalities that we focused on. Part of the work that we do very heavily relies on civil society organizations and communities. So you will never hear me say, this is what I've done for communities. What we do say is, this is what we have done in partnership with communities. And this centers around training programs, educational programs, supporting school kids, feeding community kitchens. We celebrated our first birthday, and instead of doing a major big event, we decided to support NGOs again over the weekend. On Saturday, we had 20 community kitchens across the province, and on Sunday, we had more than 50 community engagements where we were running cleanup campaigns. So it's one thing that we
Thank
say,
you, ma'am.
but what we have been able to do is
Thank
lift
you.
aspects of our manifesto and begin to implement those
Thank
right
you,
now.
ma'am. Mr. Moodley?
Can I answer as a new candidate?
Yes, yes, sir.
Yeah, I know as a new candidate they're saying that, and I'd also like to address the race-based issue here where I am, because maybe I come across as being race-based.
Sir, can you stick to the issue, please?
Yes, I'm answering that question. That meaning I have a long and proud track record before I come here of community activism, which involves the areas of Chatsworth and Phoenix and in informal settlements. During the flooding of July 2021, 250 meals a day from Johannesburg to Durban for that. Numerous feeding schemes, building houses, helping people. I have an excellent track record. I don't come here sitting here as a newbie. I have a 12 to 15-year record of doing activism in Chatsworth and Phoenix.
Thank you. Mr. Archery?
He doesn't want to give me the mic. We'll pull it to him. Yeah. As African Movement Congress, we are new. We were formed in June last year, thereabouts. I have 33 years of experience in the civil society organizations, religious, sports, and civil society movements. And we stretch across Phoenix and many of the townships that you know. But also important was forming social cohesion between the Phoenix and the Inc area, Inanda, Ntuzuma, Kwamashu. And that was important for us.
Thank you, sir.
What we don't do is do in one end and publish on the other.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for that. Actually, it says new.
Yeah. It's a new, no, we are a new party. No, we are a new party. No, it's a first time question election. I must say, Lee, yesterday.
30 seconds, okay.
Yesterday, I was in Eskawini in Folozi College, where I was assisting young people who have left out by NEFSAS with food, who are going to bed hungry. We have been in a project of rolling out Wi-Fi in our schools. We are being blocked by a different department in this province. We have that process. And also, during nutrition problem, we were the first party in this province to assist our learners in our schools with nutrition program in this
Thank you.
KZN.
Thank you. In fairness, I have to give it to Mr. Sheikh Imam, even though he's been around the block a while.
Thank you for that. Let me start off by saying right now, I'm proud to say that I produced, on behalf of AM4C, in my transition, 72 beauticians in this country, all sponsored totally by us, including the first barbers, locally born barbers in South Africa. Awards day in many, many schools. Many young kids are out of the street sponsoring them in terms of sports, football, and things. Many feeding schemes all over the country.
Thank you. 30
There are
seconds
just
are up.
a little, some of them, of course.
Thank you.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, I think the ANC panelist does need to. Okay.
We've got to keep this next round very tight. We do have a question over here, and then I do need to go to the lady in red as well.
Chief. Thank you. Is this on? Is it on?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, thank you to the panel and IOL for inviting us. My name is Roshan Lalratan. I represent the Verulam Water Crisis Committee as their spokesperson, and I'm sure many of you have been reading extensively about the humanitarian catastrophe unfolding in the north of Durban. And the culprits are seated right here in front of me from the ANC and the EFF. The EFF was the chairperson of the Infrastructure Committee. They allowed the ANC to run amok with the finances. And this is why 8 years later, we have no equipment being serviced in the water and sanitation department. That is why we have raw sewage in our rivers that are flowing into our oceans. For 245 days, we have not been able to use our seas. That will tell you what they've done. It's a criminal conduct on their part. They should be in jail. They should not be seated here on this podium. I have no respect for them. Why do I have no respect for them? You allowed a lady by the name of Shlonisile to be murdered standing collecting water at a water tank in Phoenix. You allowed a person to die carrying water to her home under immense exhaustion, 72-year-old lady. You allowed a 92-year-old lady to fall down 4 flights of stairs carrying a 5-liter bucket. It's your fault. You allowed Dylan yesterday evening to be shot at a borehole in Trennan's Park. It's your doing. You've allowed crime to get out of control. You've allowed water not to flow in our taps. This is your doing. Accept the responsibility. Step down. It's time. You have done a disservice as a politician to your community and to your country. And I cannot stand here and be silent any longer. The South African Human Rights Commission today at a war room says it cannot make any more inroads with you as leaders in eThekwini. They have now bailed out of the war room meeting, which was bringing progress to the north of Durban. What does it tell you if the South African Human Rights Commission says we've had enough with you? It shows that you do not have any regard for the people living on the north. And when I say north, I'm talking of Intuzuma, Umlazi, Komashu, Newlands, Phoenix, and Verulam, and the surrounding suburbs, including Tongaat. Why must we beg for water? I had to write to the United Nations. Why should I, as a civic organization, go there? So my question to you is that you've had 30 years to run the country. Why should we trust you again? And why should we trust the EFF?
Thank you, sir. Can we start with the EFF to respond to?
Thanks. I think we take very serious the comment made by the speaker. When the EFF was in charge of that Department of Water for about 8 months. And personally, and the Deputy President of the EFF, we went into all the water treatment plants to identify the actual challenges as a result of the floods. When we came back with the report, you'll remember that the municipality was unable to spend more than R1 billion of rands meant for that problem. We wrote to Treasurer, please don't take that money, we still need it to fix the problem. But because we identified in that roadshow that the corrupt officials of the ANC in the municipality, because when we were appointed in that committee, all the officials underneath came through the ANC. We told them that the city manager is incapable of running the municipality. The officials can never deliver these services because they via through a tender system that is highly compromised. And if a tender is not going to be given to this company they prefer, it started afresh. That's what is dealing at eThekwini. Now, we can't be held responsible. We're removed there, sir. We're no longer responsible because as soon as we wanted to take action to fix that problem, the ANC guys realized that elections are coming, we are closing the tap because they wanted to use that money for budget of elections. The EFF was removed.
What is happening there, we are not responsible, but we continue to raise those problems within the municipality.
Thank you.
That is why they remove us in chairing
Thank
that
you.
committee.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Mtebele, you have a right to respond to the allegations made by the EFF and to the gentleman.
Yeah, firstly, I can tell you, the challenge with the politic of collusion is this. In eThekwini, that important department was first and foremost given to Mr. Mavundla, and secondly, it was given to my fellow brothers from the EFF. Now, collusion, most of the time they have an experience of blaming and not working. Now, when these two individuals came in place, and I will tell you what we then did, they've put what we normally call in isiZulu, these comrades to speak a lot, shout slogan, and so forth. That's what Mavundla and EFF did. They had Julius Malema having roadshow and speaking, blaming, and not providing any solution. The state degenerated, and as a result, I'm sure you'll be aware right now as we speak, that there is now a partnership with Umgeni Water, which then have transferred about 80% of the treatment to Umgeni, and there is then a money. They needed, of course, more than $1 billion, contrary to what my brother is saying, that the billion was taken away. The president of the country intervened at Tegwini through presidential working group, which then had, among other things, Mr. Mike Mabuyakul. And that presidential working group have finished its work with the president. They have finished the president with the group. In the next 6 months, some of these plant treatment will be fixed, but we are dealing with a mess created by EFF because what they know is locaneering.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. Thank you. Thank you. No. Thank you. Do you have another question?
Yep. Hello.
I see the gentleman with the mic in his hand there.
Yes. Lee.
Bongani.
Yeah, thank you very much for the
Yes.
opportunity.
Okay, sorry guys, just the question coming.
Lee, can I just address this? Thank you very much for the opportunity. I had to grab the mic. Apparently, I think the selection of hands, I'm not happy with. I'm really not happy with
Okay,
that.
my apologies for that.
I think the very important thing that we need to ask, these are sales reps. These are sales reps. And I think we need to understand who funds them, the political parties, because they do not have a mandate. If you are not self-funded, that means the person that funds you, there's the person that has a mandate for you. So there are people here, there are parties that are here now, that are funded by the Oppenheimers, the Ruperts, and the Menes.
Can we just get you to point, please?
That's very, very important to note.
Okay.
And we talk about state capture as well. We also need to know who are the real state captures. The very same people that are really funding these political parties. And the vision is very questionable. You'll speak about your vision as a party. You guys has no vision. The vision is given by the people that fund you. They give you the vision. And then lastly, my question is, no one spoke about who really stole the money that had to go to the NPOs. It's the minister, 100 million. 100 million was stole by the ANC. And ANC, you are done. And DA, I don't see you doing any difference. But most importantly is, good people, let us not vote with our hearts. Let us vote with our heads. It's not for us, we're voting for our kids.
Thank you. I think that was a comment. Can we also, can we get a question? Can we get a question, please?
Sanmanani, umkhize sibongile lo okhulumayo, soma nokubingelela amamember eParliamente ne-audience yonke. Umbuzo wami ola, ngiyaweza ama-politicians onke ayabeka, kodwa when it comes to ama-flood victims, akekho noyedwa oraise ipoint and akekho noyedwa osikhathalele thina njengabantu okuyibona abahlukumezeka ngekhukhule ka-2022 April 11 kuze kube imanje sesiqede 2 years and okubuhlungu imali ikhishiwe sisi ngiyaphoxeka mama ungixolele ukuthi ngizwa ngisho lokho kodwa iqinisa kube iqiniso thina njengoba sihleli ayikho neyodwa inhlangano esikhathalele ama-TEAs ayi-3 i-Astra kube i-reserve kube i-point bese kuba umphakathi esushiye emuva asinayo imhlaba njengamanje ku-extendwa i-contract sihleli ingabe kwenzakalani ngemali yethu eyakhishwa esesikhwameni se-loss and damages cause kunzima ukuqala phansi bese ngiphinde ngisho lokho ngiyabonga ngo-ANC ngizalelwe kuwona ngiyimbewu yakhona ngikhulele kona kodwa ayikho i-way forward ungixolele bamndebele ubaba anginaye ulele phansi kodwa ayikho into eqhubekela phambili ingakube laba okuyibona abaxhasa inhlangano banixhasela ukuthi thina sisizakale kuphi noma kubenefithe nina thina sezukulwane nezingane zethu siqhubeke siphile ngaphansi kwenhlupheko kumanje siyashare ama-room akekho umuntu ongabekezela ukuthi uzohlala nomuntu angamazi endlini kuyaliwa bayashona abantu kulama building esihleli kuwona kwayiwona bolile imali ishonephi mina ngicela ukunikeza 6 months as from now on ngoNovember ngicela ukuthi njengoba nihleli lapho kusuka kwi-DA kuyovalwa lapha ekugcineni kubhuti umhlongo ukuthi ngoNovember to December nibe nisikhipha kulama building esihleli kuwona asincengani asavoti ngeinhliziyo asivoti ngengqondo kodwa ake sibheke ukuthi nisenzelani nisinikani ama-NGO ayasiza ukuthi sibe nemhlahlandlela anisizi.
Thank you. Can we get an answer to that? Does anybody want to respond? The floods is about you, Mr. Mayor. Do you want to respond to?
No. Thank you very much for that input. I think they are first thing first is that there are many flood victims who have now been. There are 2 programs that you do with flood victims. Firstly, remember those are disasters. And when disasters happen, the first thing you need to do is to find a temporal shelter for our people. Now, that wait. Then that was done, completed. And then after that, there were flood victims. About 70% of them had been allocated to houses. Of course, others have not been allocated. What is a backlog? A backlog has been about finding land and about ensuring that the land is planned and is having an infrastructure. But all of that is part of a roll-out program.
Thank you, sir. Ms. Longwane, Mhlongo wanted to comment on this.
Ngiyabonga kakhulu sisi for raising lezi zinto oyiphakamisile manje. As iRise Mzansi sina one, and part of what we've done over the past couple of months, la imphakathi khona idingakala usizo ngempela, we've been able to step in again with our partnerships now with businesses and NGOs. But what we also have found is ukuthi mesifika kwi-community hall sitshela ukuthi kuney'ngane ey'ngadlile kunomama abasamanzi abangena ingubo. Sijikiswe gate-ini nosizo. Lamaqembu laba okhansela laba basuke bemile egate-ini sibuzwe ibongo kufuna ama-numbers. So on top of ukuthi abaholi abakhona bangayisiza imphakathi abafuni ngisho thina ke sifika nosizo ukuthi silekelele.
Mr. Mzobe, you want to comment?
Look, the primary problem, as Mafiga says, is the issue of land. You can talk about all the interventions of temporal accommodation. So as long as the government is unwilling to take land and allocate people for human settlement and build proper houses, the issue of flood will continue forever and forever. That is why in our manifesto, primarily to the struggle and the commitment, the government must take land. And through the custodianship of that land, you will identify communities that need to be reallocated land and you build the houses.
Thank you, sir.
And they must stop stealing that money of temporal houses.
This is obviously a hot button issue. Everybody wants to comment on it. Mr. Sheikh, you have 30 seconds.
You. 2 things very quickly, yes, indeed. You know, in terms of housing and things, we know we're going to always have floods. Why put up people in places when you know it's going to affect them when there's a flood? And that is why the Allied Movement for Change says very clearly, give every South African family, including a single parent family, a piece of land and give it right now. Secondly, on the issue of, you're absolutely correct. In fact, from what you have said, there are 2 types of corruption. International corruption, where the Zionists and the West want regime change, and here, where you have a corruptor, you have a corruptee. Political parties are getting funding, and they're giving back tenders and things. That's where the problem is.
Mr. Mkwango wants to take a stab at this issue as well.
Yeah, I think on the issue of flood victims, Action SA has been vocal in it. We acknowledge the challenges. We've been vocal in putting pressure on government to provide services. We came first when the Premier was saying they've been sorted out. We said, no, that's not true. We know exactly the challenges. But to answer your question, my brother, I think as a voter, ask yourself, there are only 3 or 4 parties that have disclosed their funding. All parties here are funded. But ask yourself, where they get money if they can't disclose? Action SA is one of the parties that is always disclosed our funders. We are clear who's donating to our party. But some sitting here, you will never hear them disclosing, but look at their campaign.
Thank you, sir.
Ask us where they get money. We
Mr.
disclose our
Mtongo,
funders.
Thank you, Mr. Mtongo. Mr. Archery, you also have something to say.
Yeah, we don't have any funding. We don't have any big businesses supporting us. We are self-funding. If we were, you would see more of us in the streets.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Papas.
Thank you very much. So the first thing, I'm glad, my friend, you said we must vote with our heads and not our hearts. If you look at the only political party that runs another province, it has the lowest unemployment, the highest foreign direct investment, the lowest stages of load shedding, and the best infrastructure. So let's vote with our heads. The next thing, Sisi, ngizocela ukuzokuvakashela. La emkhandlwini waseThekwini asiphethe amandla namba baphethe amandla collusion le bakhuluma ngayo mina isiqiniseko sami ukuthi ngizoza lapho kwena njengeqembu eliphikisayo ukwenza umsindo ukuthi bawenze umsebenzi wabo ngoba imali ilapho.
Mr. Papas, thank you. Mr. Ntuli.
Thank you. 6 months is too long for you to realize a new hope. Few days, 35 days. Do the right thing, make the right choice.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. Thank you. Thank you. Let's hold this. All right, thank you. Thank you.
Hi there. Thanks to the organizers of this interesting meeting. I'm KZN. I am serving on the body corporate across the robot. So I've been here in Umhlanga from 1992.
Okay, no, sure.
I want to be very brief before this entire meeting turns into chaos, organized chaos.
Sorry, sir, can we get to the question? We just have our guests.
My first question is, we need an explanation in Umhlanga as to why our taxis are parked right at the entrance. This development was supposed to have catered for that. I don't know who is responsible, but I believe there is a government.
I think that's a municipal issue. I think this is a provincial issue.
Okay, that's one.
Let's just.
And broadly, I've been working in the Ilembe district. I want to agree with the member from the IFP when he touched on the business industrial area at Isteba. I knew the area when it opened. It employed 65,000 people. And today, I don't know if he's verified the figures, it's standing at 8,000. That is terrible. So it makes me happy if he wants to go in that direction. Also, I am disappointed that none of these members have touched on law and order, which is the core problem. If there was serious implementation of law and order, we won't be talking about corruption.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. Can we just get one more, Lance, in the question in the middle there? Last question there in the middle, in this section here. These people have not asked the question. Can we just ask one question here? No, one question, please, ma'am. Please, ma'am.
Hold on. We've got somebody that has a mic. We'll go here, and then we'll go.
Thank you. Okay. I'm gonna be as quick as possible. My first question is to you, the host Lee. Is there any particular reason that Mkhonto Isizwe is not present?
They were invited. They did not.
Great. Thank you very much. My second question then would be to all the people present in this room. If you're looking at the stats, it's a 2-horse race. It's between MK and IFP. My question is then to the IFP. What is your strategy to take this province forward? Obviously, the DA is bringing Babes Wadumo. She's going to show her stuff to try and get some votes. But what's your plan? What's your plan as the IFP to take this province? And you can.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
I think
just ask one
question,
the last question.
That question was answered right in the beginning with.
Yes, I think Mr. Tuli did answer that question.
Good day. My name is Alvina Moore. I belong to the Wentworth Development Forum. My question to all these people on the panel over here, the whole lot of y'all are liars. Every time you promise this, you promise that. But what do you give us? Salt. Crime. Yes, there's murders, whatever's happening. Police minister has visited only certain areas. But let me tell you about Wentworth. We have gunshots every day. There is no time for gunshots. The most recent one was on Monday morning when the school children were going to school. 3 people got shot. Where were the police? The minister doesn't want to come to Wentworth. Why?
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am. Thank you. Can we just give the panel a chance to answer on safety and security, the issue that's been raised now on safety and security? What is your response to that? Yeah, let's start here. And 30 seconds, please, guys.
Alvina, thank you very much for the question. I used to be the ward councillor of Sydenham, and we used to know where the drug dealers lived and would point them out to the police, but nothing would happen. So what we are saying as the Democratic Alliance is that we want to establish a provincial police service that is well-resourced, free of political interference, and that uses technology and information-based systems to try and root out the corruption. We cannot have a minister that sits in Pretoria, wears a funny hat, and thinks he's going to fight crime. Our police must be well-equipped, well-resourced, and managed in our communities. Thank you,
sir. Mr. Ntuli.
I think the cooperation amongst the leaders of the society and the society itself, one, is fundamental, in fact, to ensure that we bring law and order in our province. Business leaders, religious leaders, and even the traditional leaders, everyone who's a leader in the society, to work together with the police so that we root out the issue of crime, while funding those community volunteering people, the CPFs.
Thank you, sir.
Look, the ANC is of the view that people are their own liberators. The relationship between government and the people should be that of both of them working together to resolve the plight of our people. It is because of this reason that we believe that our community should be encouraged to be part of policing forum, and such must be a resource, and people must work together. Every time where the community have intervened in working with communities, to resolve those challenges had been quicker. But every time when the community stands away and then leave that task to government, the response becomes difficult because people who are involved in this are part and parcel of the community.
Sir. Good. Thank you, sir. Mr. Mzobe.
We think we must professionalize police service, remove politicians from police. When the commissioner is arresting, we don't need a minister to be next to the commissioner disturbing the investigation. Pay police officers more. Train them continuously. This thing of training people once they are employed, to stop training them. They become fat and unable to chase criminals. The issue of shooting police officers, there was a report that the Department of Police did not have bullets for the training of police. We think we must put more money in training police officers because it doesn't have to train someone at 20 once they're employed.
Thank you, sir.
They've not been in a shooting range for 20 years.
Thank you, sir. Ma'am?
Thank you so much for the question. One, invest in prevention instead of response, and that is what we find ourselves as a country. Police respond to crime instead of preventing it. Making sure they have the necessary resources, whether it's more police stations depending on the demographic of an area, making sure that they have rape kits. Multiple times some of our volunteers and community members have reported rapes and there aren't rape kits. But most importantly, streamlining some of the work that happens with community watch groups, CPF and SAPS, to be able to be invested to do that work. But we need to get buy-in from the community. There are things that we fundamentally have to agree on a community level, on nation building and what happens and what doesn't happen in our communities.
Mr. Sheikh.
Thank you. From the Allied Movement for Change, we are saying give more power to the police together with the defense force to eradicate crime once and for all. But very importantly, it's not the police to blame. It's the root causes. That is why we're saying let's start at school level. No person, no criminal is born a rapist or a murderer. We need to ask, why did it go wrong? When did it go wrong? How did it go wrong? It's coming because of the dysfunctional state of our society and homes. So let's get to the root cause of these problems, and then we'll be able to have a better, safer, and secure society.
Thank you, Mr. Budley.
I'd like to change the narrative here, but a lot of you pick on these guys, including me, a salesman here, and I'm over 50, I'm only 36 years old. But the thing is, you'll all consider these guys are thieves and they speak lies, yet you ask them a question and they tell you more lies back and you believe that anyway. So which one do you want? These guys are trying to make a difference. We're trying to stepping up, but you want them to speak. You ask them a question, they speak lies to you, you send it back to them, but you want something to come out of it. So I'm an independent, I got no clue how to handle this, but let me tell you the truth. Otherwise, you're going to say I'm speaking lies to you as well. So
Thank you, sir.
No, the sad reality is that as our unemployment rate deepens, crime is going to spiral out of control. It is out of control now, it's going to get even higher. So, you know, there are 4 security companies to 1 police officer, or 4 to 1. We need to put more resources, we need more commitment from the police force. We pay their salaries. Why the government wouldn't want to send in the SADF into pockets of areas where they can stymie the crime, that's another confusing
Thank you, sir. Mr. Mkwango.
The vote for Action SA in KwaZulu-Natal will ensure there is law and order in our province. We want to fight crime, but more importantly, deal with the issue of drugs by ensuring we bust all those who are selling drugs, because the drug dealers are the problem over and above the users. But also we want to ensure that we give enough resources to our police officers, pay them well, and also make sure there's manpower. That is why we are going for decentralizing power to provinces, where we allow
Thank you,
provinces
sir.
power.
Thank you, Mr. Mkwango. We're going to wrap up now, audience. Unfortunately, we have run out of time. Everybody is on a tight schedule here, so we're going to wrap up. I do apologize for this. I'm going to give the panel 1 minute to give their closing statements, and we can start at Mr. Mkwango.
Yeah, to those, the audience and those watching at home, your vote for Action SA will ensure that we grow our economy and make sure that we create jobs that are necessary in our province. Will ensure as well that we support Amakosi, where we see Amakosi being neglected by government. Will also ensure that we provide our learners with quality education. We want to make sure that someone who's studying Kwanongoma and those in urban areas receive quality education and also quality healthcare system for everyone. We will ensure that we fight crime in our province. We'll ensure that we actually deal with the issue
Thank you,
of
sir.
drugs in our province.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Archery.
So African Movement Congress are new. We have not told anybody any lies because there was no opportunity, like 30 years of governance, to tell you lies and so on. What we did, we learned from the mistakes made by our colleagues and ensure that we become accountable to you. Let me tell you what's the biggest mistake. Nobody accounts to you, and you sit quiet about that. So African Movement Congress promises to account back to its constituencies, and we'd want to make that change. You've given them 30 years. We are in a mess. It's time to give the new parties a chance.
Thank you,
very
sir.
much.
Mr. Woodley.
Ladies and gentlemen, firstly, it's an honor and a privilege to be part of this gathering and the new dawn that awaits, the new South Africa that awaits. What is clear is that we need a change of government. We need new government. We need new blood in the government. We need young blood in the government. And I'm glad to be part of the change. I'm a game changer.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much. I think what is very clear, whoever is governing, wherever they've governed, even in coalition governments, has failed the country. There's no doubt about it. I think it's time for change. And that's where the Allied Movement for Change comes in. We have said we want a better healthcare system, rather prevent you from getting sick than dying and spending time in hospital. We're talking about the skills as far as education is concerned. All we want to do there is to identify from a very early stage children that are coming from dysfunctional families to create a safer and secure environment. We also want to ensure that the wealth of this country belongs to the people of this country. So we're saying no more big conglomerates must run this mining. The mining sector, the profits, 50% must come to the people of the country. The other 50% must be controlled by the private sector who can do the mining. Vote for Allied Movement for Change, for AM4C. I can assure you a better future.
Thank you.
So democracy is not a spectator sport. We need every single person in this room to participate, not just to vote, but to equally be able to hold leaders accountable. If you feel as if politics has never worked for you, and you have been voting and you continue to expect change and it doesn't happen, then Rise Mzansi is for you. What we speak about is having ethical leaders who are rooted in community, who respect communities, who are honest with communities to be leading the country as it is. So on the 29th of May, if you're looking for a political home that sees you, that hears you, that centers your concerns, vote Rise Mzansi.
Thank you, ma'am.
Yes, we want to appeal to people of KwaZulu-Natal who want land and jobs now and who want to see the end of load shedding to vote for EFF on the 29th of May. I think these elections are one of the most important elections we've ever had. We've got the opportunity in front of us to remove the ANC in KwaZulu-Natal and usher a new government to govern this province. This province has degenerated in the past 20 years, and we have an opportunity on the 29th of May to take this province of KwaZulu-Natal forward. And we think the EFF has got the most concrete and practical manifesto that can be offered. We appeal to young people to go and read it. It's more solution-oriented, not some rhetoric that we've been hearing from the ruling party. We are confident that if we are voted as a majority, we will govern better. If not, we will form part of the coalition and infuse the ideas that are youth-oriented. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you for acknowledging that you have already lost. As the African National Congress, we want to take this opportunity and invite people to reflect. Reflect on the achievement that we have made, reflect on the challenges that lie ahead, and remember that together we can do more. Together we can still turn around the situation. Together we can still improve the lives of our people. The task of building the nation is about the problem arising and the problem being solved. It's about active leadership and participatory leadership. And that's what the ANC is providing, the solution and experience. Not people who just want to be in parliament so that they will earn and not do anything for our people. Our records speak for ourselves. We have done more and we still need to do more.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Ntuli.
Thank you. We governed this province and we're governing in some municipalities. When we governed, things were working for the people. The levels of crime were not skyrocketing as it is in our days. The levels of poverty was not what it is today. There wasn't that such chaos which you see in this province. The economy was growing. As a result, people were getting employment. When we governed, government institutions were working. And then when people give us an opportunity, province of KwaZulu-Natal, we are not just making promises as it's easy to make promises, but we have history. We have the legacy of Prince Mangosuthu Buthelezi of providing clean governance. That is why we have Mangosuthu University of Technology today, in which people are still benefiting from. That is why we have a lot of infrastructural investment that we invested in this province, which is still benefiting the people of this province. And when we are given an opportunity, we restore this province into its glorious moments wherein everyone will have hope about the future.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Papas.
Thank you very much. I think today we've heard how Action SA is going to significantly increase business taxes while they're already struggling. We've heard the EFF is going to give more jobs to people from Cameroon and Zimbabwe. And we've heard that the ANC still believes in their own Kool-Aid. But the important thing is that there's a political organization here that has been fighting for the people of South Africa since the days of the Progressive Federal Party, the DP and the DA. And every time that we've grown and taken over government, we've managed to change things and start to fix the mess that is left behind. So on the 29th of May, people have an opportunity. An opportunity to put a tried and tested political party who is able to fix things. Urgency demands that we try and resolve. We heard the ANC member saying that we need to turn things around, in his own words. Vote for the Democratic Alliance on the 29th of May so that we can turn things around and start to rebuild hope in our country. Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. Thank you. Lance? Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. I want to take this opportunity to thank our panelists as well. Thank you very much for your presence here. Thank you for honoring the invitation from IOL. And to those of you, unfortunately, who did not have an opportunity to pose questions to the panelists, I'm sure that there will maybe be some time on your way out. And to our viewers watching our live stream, please do join us on Friday in Johannesburg and then in Cape Town on Tuesday, the 30th of April. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. Have a wonderful day further.
Thank you very much. Thank you, sir. Thank you. Thank you very much. Oh, thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for... Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, sir. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, brother.